Hi everyone, this is a video for Act 1, Scene 1, Part 2. In the previous video, we finished at the stage where the prince was giving an ultimatum to the Montagues and the Capulets about what would happen if they continued to fight in the way that they were in the streets in Verona. If you remember, he used these words: if you ever disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. And so in those words, what the prince is essentially saying is that if they fight again, he's using that sense of proleptic irony. Shakespeare is using that foreshadowing, that proleptic irony, to show that any more conflict will essentially lead to death. And at this stage, we don't know that those deaths will be Romeo and Juliet amongst others. But of course, the audience are aware that Romeo and Juliet will die. So there's a sense of dramatic irony as well, because the audience knows something that the characters don't. So at this stage, the rest of the characters have left the stage. We've just got Lord Montague, Lady Montague, so Romeo's parents, and Benvolio, Romeo's friend and confidant. And so Montague begins with these words: who set this ancient quarrel new abroach? So we repeat those words, that ancient feud, the ancient quarrel, that fight that has been continuing for a long time has been set abroach anew. So it's come to the fore once more. So Montague demands to know who has been the cause of that. He says, speak, nephew. Were you by when it began? Benvolio, Romeo's cousin, says, here were the servants of your adversary, and yours close fighting ere did I approach. So your servants and the servants of your adversary, your servants of your enemy, and your own servants were fighting when I came upon them, when I arrived here. I drew to part them, so I drew my sword to separate them. In that instant came the fiery Tybalt with his sword prepared, which as he breathed defiance to my ears, he swung about his head and cut the winds. Who nothing hurt without hissed him in scorn. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and more and fought on part and part. Now you can see there, I've just highlighted these words: fiery, breathed, hissed. This almost devilish imagery. We've got fiery, often associated with hell. Breathed, like the idea of a dragon breathing fire, almost animalistic, this description of Tybalt. Hissed, like a snake, like something evil. And all of this gives the sense of Tybalt as a kind of violent and volatile character in the way that he's being built here through that devilish imagery, that imagery to do with hell and the devil and demons and things like that. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and more and fought on part and part, till the prince came, who parted either part. Oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray. So his mother is happy that Romeo was not part of this fight, part of this feud today. Madam, an hour before, the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east. A troubled mind drive me to walk abroad, where underneath the grove of sycamore, that westward rooteth from the city side, so early walking did I see your son. Towards him I made, but he was ware of me, and stole into the covert of the wood. I measuring his affections by my own, which then most sought where most might not be found, being one too many by my weary self. Pursued my humour, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned, who gladly fled from me. So in this section, Benvolio is saying, I saw Romeo, I approached him, but he was so sad, he was walking beneath the sycamores, and he just fled away from me. I could see that he didn't want to speak to me. So we get the sense that Romeo is dejected, that he is isolated, that he's full of sorrow and sadness at this stage in the story. Montague says, many a morning hath he been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew. Now I've highlighted this as one of our gold quotations. You'll remember gold quotations from studying Lord of the Flies or in Inspector Calls. Those are the few that we're going to learn really well because they are Swiss Army quotes. They do lots of things. They've got lots of devices and can be related to lots of gold ideas. This one here, I don't know how clearly you can see my handwriting there. With tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew. Montague is referring to the idea that his tears would be falling from his face, and the puddle of tears would be adding to, augmenting the dew, the wetness that was already on the ground in the morning. So this emphasises the emotional vulnerability of Romeo and the human condition for suffering in love. This creates this sense of Romeo filled with sorrow and dejection. But also it reminds us of his immaturity, that he is so deeply and desperately in love with this other woman when we first meet him. Remember, this woman he's in love with is not Juliet. And it reminds us of Romeo's lovesick tendencies, how easily he falls in love, how enamoured he becomes and how obsessed he becomes. And in a way, Montague is kind of supportive in the sense of being Romeo's father, but he's kind of dismissive of Romeo's feelings here. He thinks that it's quite immature. Adding to clouds, more clouds with his deep sighs, but also soon as the all-cheering sun should in the farthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed. Away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. So he shuts up all of his windows, his curtains, his doors, and makes it blackness in his bedroom, and that's where he's been hiding, much like a teenager might these days if you were upset or didn't want to speak to anybody. And so Romeo's father says, black and portentous must this humour prove. So he's worried that this is going to become a depression, this is going to become something that will seize on Romeo. Unless good counsel may the cause remove. So he's saying, unless somebody speaks to him, Romeo is going to be in this pit of despair forever. And Benvolio takes on that challenge. He says, my noble uncle, do you know the cause? I neither know it nor can learn of him. Have you importuned him by any means? So he's trying to find out what is wrong with him. Montague says, both by myself and many other friends, but he, his own affection's counsellor, is to himself, so he won't talk to anybody, he just keeps this bottled up inside. I will not say how true. And then look at this language here. Himself, so secret, so close, so far from sounding and discovery, a bud bit with an envious worm. So there's this imagery of secrecy. Romeo keeping things from his parents. And that's a motif that appears later on, of course, when he keeps his love for Juliet a secret and his marriage to Juliet and their subsequent plans to disappear and run away together, effectively. The other thing that I just want to pick up on here is this word, bud. Now, in this sense, it might not seem as obvious, but there is lots of imagery to do with fertility and new life. So words like bud to do with growth, new life, fertility. It reminds us of the potential of Romeo and Juliet's young life. And remember, at the time, for young people, the aim as they got older, the intention for them as they got older, was to marry somebody of good esteem for their families and therefore to have children and carry on that lineage. So it's almost like the idea of the wasted potential of Romeo and Juliet is referred to, and the honour and duty of reproducing and creating life, creating heirs, that is lost for Romeo and Juliet. Ere he can spread his sweet leaves to the air or dedicate his beauty to the sun, could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as know. So Romeo's father is saying, if only he would tell us, we would try and help. So as I say, Benvolio takes on that role. And he says, see where he comes. So Romeo has now arrived. So please you step aside, I'll know the grievance or be much denied. So Benvolio promises, remember he's a peacekeeper, he's a kind person. He promises that he will find out what's wrong with Romeo and lift his spirits. I would thou wert so happy by thy stay, to hear true shrift. Come, madam, let's away. Benvolio says to Romeo, his parents have now left. Remember, exeunt means leave the stage. Good morrow, cousin. Oh, is the day so young? But new struck 9. Ay me, sad hours seem long. Was that my father that went hence so fast? It was. What sadness lengthens Romeo's hours? So here, you see I've highlighted sad hours seem long. That's sibilance, because you've got these sibilant S sounds. It's alliteration, but with an S sound. Remember, alliteration is repeated letter sounds. We've got repeated S sounds here. Sibilance often shows amazement or distress or frustration. In this case, it shows sorrow and frustration from Romeo. And here we've got this motif that's beginning to be established, which will be really important as we go through, which is the idea that time is an enemy. And so here you might have heard the phrase, time flies when you're having fun. Romeo is saying the exact opposite. He is miserable, and so his days seem to be long. And time as an enemy is a theme in Romeo and Juliet. It's almost as though Romeo and Juliet, once they meet, are battling against time. There isn't enough time for them. And there's equally this sense of time being snatched for the two of them to be together. And time is an enemy as much as it is a friend. Romeo then says, so he says, what lengthens your hours? Romeo says, not having that, which having makes them short. In love, out of love. Out of her favour when I am in love. So Romeo is talking about now unrequited love. Unrequited. Love that is not returned by another person. Alas, that love so gentle in his view should be so tyrannous and rough in proof. Romeo now starts to talk about his view on love. And you'll notice here lots of juxtapositions. In fact, in one of the tasks that you're going to do as a follow-up, I'm going to give you this passage and get you to pick out the oxymorons, the contrasts side by side, and any juxtapositions, any other contrasts you can see as he tries to present the two sides of love. So we've got, alas, that love whose view is muffled still should without eyes see pathways to his will. Where shall we dine? Oh me, what fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. Here's much to do with love, but more with much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then, O brawling love, O loving hate, O anything of lightness first create? O heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep. That is not what it is. This love I, that feel no love in this. Dost thou not laugh? So we've got these oxymorons, brawling love, loving hate, bright smoke, feather of lead. We've got those contrasts that show that love is both pleasure and pain, that reality of love. It should be a wonderful thing, but for Romeo it's painful. So it shows us those two sides. It also shows us his immaturity, his confusion. He doesn't really understand what love is. No, dost thou not laugh? No, cuz, I rather weep. Good heart at what? At thy good heart's oppression. Why such is love's transgression? Again, we've got another oxymoron suggesting that love is in some way sinful and painful. Griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast, which thou wilt propagate to have it pressed. With more of thine, this love that thou hast shown doth add more grief to too much of mine own. Love is a smoke made with the fume of sighs. So that metaphor shows how love blinds us. It's a smoke made with the fume of sighs. Love is something we almost can't see through. We're blinded by it and confused by it. Love causes distortion and causes things to be seen differently. Being purged, a fire sparkling in lover's eyes. Being vexed, a sea nourished with loving tears. What is it else? A madness most discreet. So again, this motif of madness, the idea that love brings about hysteria, an obsession. It drives you crazy, being in love. A choking gall, so a poison that chokes you, but also a preserving sweet. So again, we've got these two sides of love. It's poisonous, but it's also sweet. It's not what it appears, and it can be painful as well as pleasurable. Farewell, my cuz. Soft, I will go along, and if you leave me so, you do me wrong. I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He's so otherwhere. Tell me in sadness, who is it that you love? What, shall I groan and tell thee? Groan? Why no, but sadly tell me who. Bid a sick man in sadness make his will, a word ill urged to do one that is so ill. In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman. I aimed so near when I suppose you loved. A right good markman, and she's fair I love. A right fair mark, fair cuz, as soon as hit. Well, in that hit you miss, she'll not be hit by Cupid's arrow. So she won't be struck with a love for Romeo too. She hath Dian's wit, and in strong proof of chastity well armed. From love's weak childish bow she lives uncharmed. She will not stay the siege of loving terms, nor bide the encounter of assailing eyes, nor ope her lap to saints seducing gold. Oh, she is rich in beauty, only poor, that when she dies, with beauty dies her store. Then she hath sworn she will live chaste? She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste. For beauty starved with her severity cuts beauty off from all posterity. She is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair, to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now. So Romeo's saying he's almost living like he is dead. He's so miserable. He lives as though he were dead. Be ruled by me, forget to think of her. Oh, teach me how I should forget to think. By giving liberty unto thine eyes, examine other beauties. So Benvolio is willing Romeo to look on other women, to see other women's beauty, and to forget this woman that he is in love with, Rosaline. 'Tis the way to call hers exquisite and question more these happy masks that kiss fair ladies' brows. Being black puts us in mind, they hide the fair. He that is struck and blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. Show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note, where I may read who passed that passing fair? Farewell, thou cannot teach me to forget. So he's saying, show me other women. But those women will only remind me of how beautiful Rosaline is, of how fair she is. You're not going to make me forget this woman who does not love me back. Benvolio leaves him with these words, I'll pay the doctrine or else die in debt. So he's saying, I will take that challenge, cousin, or I will die in the attempt. I'm really going to do my best to help you find somebody else and help you forget this woman. And the next thing that we have to look forward to here, we can see that idea of the masquerade ball. So the Capulets are due to have a ball to which the Montagues will secretly attend, and it is there that he will meet Juliet, and his visions of Rosaline will be dashed, will be put aside. Okay, brilliant.